Hello guys and girls, my name is Purple Hat Man and I recently went to see The Thunderbolts. I say recently, I actually went to see it on its opening day because I was so excited for it and I didn't want to have a massive delay like I did with Brave New World. And boy am I glad that I went to see it as soon as I did because it was fantastic. I've actually been saying this since I left the cinema, but I think it's the best MCU film since Endgame. I'm not the only one who thinks so because the praise for this film has been very high, but yeah, genuinely the best MCU film since Endgame, which is a big statement that I totally stand by even a month later. Now you've seen the title of this video, so you know what we're going to be talking about in it, but first I do want to talk a bit more about the Thunderbolts because of how much I need to get off my chest what I thought about this film. So the first of the many strengths I think the Thunderbolts movie has is its cast of characters. Obviously we all know these characters from other Marvel properties. It was great to see some of them come back. Characters like John Walker and Yelena were ones that I knew were going to be great, but I didn't expect characters like Ghost to come back, which is fantastic. Because we haven't seen her since Ant-Man and the Wasp, which feels so long ago now, I'd almost entirely forgotten about the character, but it was great to see her come back. And then you've also got the Winter Soldier and the Red Guardian. The Red Guardian does serve as amazing comedic relief throughout the film. It was overplayed only slightly at some points, which is one of the only negative things I have to say about the film, but most of the time, the humour hits, it was perfectly timed, no complaints. The team has great chemistry with each other, I understand their conflicts, I understand their motivations. The story itself was very fluid, I knew where it was going and what it was trying to do, but I was still caught off guard by some things. It was the perfect amount of predictable and inspired. And the action sequences of the film, I am still absolutely obsessed with. They are 10 out of 10 amazing, and I could watch them a million times over. I actually can't wait to see the film again in its entirety, just sit down and watch the whole thing start to finish again, because it was that good. But let's talk about the biggest draw for me personally in the film, which was the introduction of the Sentry. There have been a few characters now in the MCU where I have sat back and gone, please, I hope they do this character justice. Just do this character right, please. And the Sentry was one of the biggest for me. I wanted so badly for them to do this character justice and take what we know in the comics and put it on screen. And I think they succeeded. The Sentry in this film is displayed as completely ridiculously powerful, which is just what he needs to be. He easily overpowers the Thunderbolts team, and trust me, he was holding back massively. And maybe even more importantly than that, we obviously get the Void, who was also done so much justice in my opinion. The Void from the comics is a completely terrifying, horrible, and immoral entity, and I think they nailed that perfectly. He is just as terrifying as I think he would be, and he's kind of hopeless, and I know that's kind of the brand that he's in. You'll never achieve anything, you're hopeless, Robert, everyone's hopeless, we're all just lost in the Void. And just for the record, I think they played Bob really fantastically in the film, as a troubled young guy that gets way too much power that he doesn't know what to do with. He has this thing of, yeah, he's an innocent guy, but he's got this really dark thing that's just waiting to break free, which is exactly what I get out of the character in the comics. So overall, I think the film was fantastic. I really, like I said, can't wait to see it again, and I look forward to what the Thunderbolts, with an asterisk on the end, will do in the future. Just before we get started with the main portion of the video, please leave me a like and a comment if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to help me hit 1,000 subscribers this year. Obviously in this video we're going to be talking about the Sentry in the comic books, specifically my time reading the Sentry, because I came into reading comics at a really interesting time where the Sentry was just about to tip over the edge into complete chaos. So my very first exposure to the Sentry as a character was during a story where it opened with him being shot in the face with a disintegrating gun by his wife. And if that wasn't enough of a shock to me, she then descends into his secret origin, which is that he is not the hero everyone thinks he is. His wife explains that he was just a drug addict who broke into the lab and drank the formula in an effort to get high, and when he got the powers of the Sentry, he became addicted to that instead of drugs. It's just that simple. She talks about what it's like to be married to such a powerful being, and that she could see this dark side in him from the very beginning, and she tried to ignore it until the day she couldn't take it anymore, which was today, when she shot him in the face. And it's at that moment that the Sentry / the Void resurrects themselves and just starts spewing hate in her face. She also screams, "What are you?" and he replies, "Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds." So I guess the Void has a sense of humour, but it was really confusing for me at the time because I thought he was being serious. And after a bit of back and forth between the Void and Lindy, it actually turns out that she wants to die. She says, "Can you please kill me?" And the Void goes to grant her request until the Sentry steps in and starts like wrestling control of the body, saying, "You will not kill my wife." And the Void says, "Look, I'll be doing you a favor. It's fine. I'm gonna kill her." But the Sentry won't let it happen. In an effort to save his wife, the Sentry takes off and flies out of the Earth's atmosphere all the way across space. All the while, the Void is just whispering in his ear that he is worthless and that the world hates him and that everything is garbage and terrible and that he should just give up. But the Sentry continues flying until he reaches the sun. He then flies into the sun in an effort to vaporize himself, and he nearly succeeds. All the flesh on the Sentry's body is completely disintegrated, and there's just a cape and a skeleton remaining, but it still isn't enough. The Void even comments how ridiculous this is. He can't kill himself, he can't die, and he won't let it happen. The Void simply regenerates every molecule around the Sentry's body, and then simply flies back to Earth and begins to destroy it. I think it's this attack by the Void on Earth, specifically New York at the moment, which is the inspiration for that scene in the Thunderbolts. The Void just comes down to Earth and just starts wrecking everything, and he's kind of completely emotionless while he does it. He literally says that this is God's way, and he seems totally fine with all the billions of people he would kill in the process. The Void is eventually stopped by Norman Osborn, not because he overpowers him, but because he reminds him that if the Void does this and he launches an attack on Earth, every superhero and possibly even some villains like Dr. Doom would see him as a threat and work out a way to defeat him. And shockingly, the Void agrees and ends his attack on Earth. Now, I learned what a big deal this was kind of later on, but that story actually takes place immediately after the Sentry encountered the Molecule Man Owen Reese. If you don't know, the Molecule Man is an obscenely powerful character, and the fact that the Sentry actually stands up to him in this story is a ridiculous show of strength, and it was the first moment that I think properly we were like, what the hell is the Sentry actually capable of? And it creates an interesting thought experiment. The Molecule Man Owen Reese has been shown in the past to be on par and equal to the Beyonder. The Beyonder famously being the all-powerful creature that initiated the first and second Secret Wars events. In the first Secret Wars event, the Beyonder easily overpowered Galactus, which it's been mentioned by Spider-Man that the Sentry and Galactus have fought before, and it was a stalemate. It's probably to do with retcons to the Molecule Man and the Beyonder's power, as they have waxed and waned over the years. But the point stands that if the Sentry can match Galactus in power levels, and he can match and beat the Molecule Man Owen Reese, I think this creates a weird power vacuum where the Molecule Man can be beaten by the Sentry is equal to Galactus, but Galactus is beaten by the Beyonder, who is equal to the Molecule Man. And all I take away from that really, with all the retcons that have gone on over the years, is that that is the level that the Sentry is on. He's in that cosmic, reality warping, all-powerful category. Getting back to the stories in chronological order, the next thing we see out of the Sentry / the Void is that they really are sharing time now. Under Norman Osborn's direction, the Void is literally in a kind of part-time share with the Sentry, and they switch almost at will with each other. Norman Osborn is using the Void to do his dirty work while keeping the superhero persona of the Sentry as like a public face of things. But the next big thing that happened is that Norman Osborn was actually in charge of a little cabal of supervillains, and it was always changing kind of rosters while he was in charge, and one of the people that used to be on it was Dr. Doom, but they had a falling out. No surprise there, Dr. Doom does not work well with others. But Dr. Doom actually comes back for a meeting with Norman Osborn in front of his other Cabal members, and it's basically to sort out some kind of deal, but Doom does not want to make a deal, and Norman Osborn won't budge either, and there's this whole moment where it's kind of told in two different perspectives as well. There's two different comics that cover it, and from the one perspective that I think I read first, all you see is Norman Osborn go, "Will you come in here please?" And you just see this kind of shadowy human figure walk in the room, and other people freak out, they go, "What the hell is that?" But again, all you see is this shadowy figure, and it doesn't really look that unusual, and this shadowy figure just unleashes this blast on Dr. Doom and seemingly kills him almost instantly, even though it does turn out to just be a Doom bot, so obviously not as good as the real Dr. Doom itself. But the interesting part is that when you read this same interaction in another comic, which I think was the Dark Avengers comic, you actually see it from the perspective of what I imagine is the other people in the room, and you actually see the Void in this kind of like hulking, black, red-mouthed, red-eyed tentacle monster, and it looks so weird. Like, I was honestly like, Jesus Christ, that's what we were looking at? And you wouldn't be able to tell that from the other perspective, and it's just really unnerving. The last important thing to mention about this is while it's all going on, Bullseye actually kills the Sentry's wife, which looking back now really severed his last human connection that he had and leads to the ultimate downfall of the Sentry. So the next story we get is Siege on Asgard, which is probably the most famous example of the Sentry and his power, but we're going to go over it again here. So like I just mentioned, Norman Osborn, the Void, and the Sentry kind of had a three-way deal going on, with the Sentry definitely being the weakest party in that deal. But Norman Osborn had a vendetta at the time to go after Asgard, which was currently on Earth, and it led to an all-out war between basically everyone in the superhero community, or at least 90 to 80% of them. This is infamously the storyline in which the God of War Ares, who was on Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers team at the time, goes to attack Norman Osborn when he realizes he's been lied to, and he's intercepted by the Sentry, who absolutely batters him before dragging him up into the sky and famously ripping him in half. Which I think for me was the first example of how gory Marvel Comics could be, because I mean, you see everything. You see spine and guts and innards and organs ripped all over the page in glorious red, brutal fashion. The Sentry then almost immediately enters into a conflict with Thor, which again showed off his ridiculous power level, with Thor hitting him dead center in the face and it basically doing nothing. The Sentry just gets knocked back a few inches and he's really starting to be corrupted by the Void right now. And the Sentry and the Void become almost cold, not really speaking much except for one line which I think he says, "How many gods must I kill today?" And he continues to fight Thor for a little bit until Norman Osborn just says, "Sentry, tear down Asgard. Take it all down, take it down now." And the Sentry just flies off, zooms straight through the foundation of Asgard, and collapses the entire city down on itself. It seems to be this destructive act which finally lets the Sentry lose control completely, and the Void takes over, manifesting into this hideous creature with all of the power you can possibly imagine. Obviously, with the Void fully manifested, he begins to rip apart all the superheroes. For some reason, he doesn't instantly vaporize them, which I think is just the writers not wanting that to happen, but he does instantly incapacitate nearly all of them. The heroes do get a temporary magical boost from Loki, but for his actions, he is immediately killed by the Void. And when the Void kills Loki, he actually sticks him with his tentacles and then rips him apart, and he disintegrates on the spot. Iron Man then drops a helicarrier on top of the Void, which causes such a massive explosion, it actually leads to him reverting to human form Robert Reynolds. And it's kind of the saddest thing that Robert Reynolds has no idea what's gone on here. He actually asks, like, "Did I do this? Am I the one that caused all of this destruction?" And when he's told yes, he just kind of looks down and then says, "Kill me. Will you please kill me?" And at first Thor says no, but then the Void remanifests, tries to kill everyone again, starts attacking them, and Thor is forced to finally land the killing blow. Which if you've been paying attention, you will know is quite a ridiculous thing, because the Sentry can't seem to die, and neither can the Void presumably, so it's almost like he's letting himself be killed here. He realizes he's too dangerous, the Void is too dangerous to be left alive, and Robert Reynolds is allowing himself to be killed. After Thor is forced to vaporize the Void, he actually finds Robert Reynolds' skeleton afterwards and kind of wraps it up and flies him to the sun, and he has this kind of nice moment where he gives him a Viking funeral, letting him go and letting the sun burn him up and finally take him, so that he can be at rest. But as you can probably guess, this was not the last we would see of the Sentry. So now I'm going to talk about what was, for me, the last big story that the Sentry was involved in. If I remember correctly, the story was split into two different sections, which was called The Apocalypse Twins and Avenge the Earth. Now, there was a lot of build-up and background to this story that I can't really go into because it's so extensive. The short version is that there is two Apocalypse Twins, which are going around basically doing the job of Apocalypse and trying to rid the world of mutants by moving them to a safe home. The Apocalypse Twins bring 4 people back to life using death seeds, and the 4 people they bring back to life are Banshee, the Grim Reaper, Daken, and the Sentry. I remember thinking when these 4 people were shown to me at the time, I was thinking, well, Banshee's just a guy with a sonic scream, that's fine. The Grim Reaper is kind of a C-list villain, in my opinion. He's just a guy with a scythe for an arm. Daken is pretty dangerous with a healing factor and all of his experience and training, and he is Wolverine's son after all. But the Sentry is on a whole nother level. My heart sank when I saw the Sentry. Given everything I've seen the Sentry do up until that point, he was just the most broken character in my mind. The story is really long, and what the Sentry does throughout it is extensive, so I'm just going to try and pick up the highlights. Pretty soon after being resurrected, the Sentry immediately starts to pick a fight with Thor. He actually hits him in one panel and flies so fast that it actually disorientates Thor, and he flies him all the way to a gamma irradiated alien planet, where I'm gonna say they have a fight, but it's not really much of a fight. The Sentry absolutely dominates him, and one of the standout moments for me personally is a bit where Thor actually hits him, and the Sentry goes, no, that's not gonna work, and then rips open his own face and hits him with some kind of all face, mouth, eye blast. Obviously, to see a character rip their own face open and it not seem to affect them in any way, shape or form is deeply unsettling. And this isn't even the most obscene body horror that you see the Sentry perform. Later on in the story, the Sentry is fighting the Wasp, and the Wasp actually manages to hit him in the face full force with both of her Stinger blasters, and it actually seems to melt off part of his face and injure him, but this is shown to be a trick. The Sentry says some weird stuff like, you can't just destroy this earthly vessel, I am more than that now, before proceeding to not only rip open his own face, but proceed to rip open his entire skull, exposing a brain and a pair of floating eyeballs before attacking her with some dark tentacles. It's hard to describe how upsetting it was to see this next level of body horror, because that's what this is. This is official body horror in Marvel. And it doesn't even end there, because right after he does this and exposes his brain and eyeballs, he is immediately hit by Thor, who crushes his brain, eyeballs, and entire head underneath his hammer. And it makes no difference whatsoever. The Sentry simply gets up, regenerates everything as if nothing happened, and then proceeds to kick Thor's ass once again. Putting aside the crazy levels of power and obscene body horror the Sentry does here, probably one of the most scary things about this story is the way he talks, because I haven't mentioned this yet, but this whole time the Sentry is kind of rambling on about him being some kind of savior for humanity. Every word out of his mouth oozes with this crazy, psychopathic certainty that is just the most unnerving thing a person can ever experience. Even with that said, I have saved the best till last. So the big deal with this story is that a Celestial has come to take revenge on the Earth and destroy it. The Celestial is bigger than the entire planet of Earth, and he actually succeeds in destroying it in a different timeline where he phases himself into the Earth before destroying it from within. The Avengers reset the timeline and try to stop the Celestial from phasing through the Earth, as he literally tries to float down from space, foot first, into the Earth. The Avengers' plan to stop the Celestial from descending involves the mutant Rogue and allowing her to absorb the powers of every Avenger she can. Rogue absorbs the powers of every hero on Earth. That's X-Man, Inhuman, and Avenger. Now, there are a few people I actually want to point out that she has absorbed the powers of here. The first is Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man, who is an extremely strong character. You also have Namor the Submariner, who again possesses a crazy level of superhuman strength, and even Hyperion, whose strength level is actually legendary, as well as the strength of the Incredible Hulk himself. After absorbing the powers of every superhero on Earth, Rogue flies underneath one of the Celestial's feet in order to stop it descending by pushing against it with all the power that she has, and we're told it is not enough. That's when we get this great line from Captain America when Tony Stark says it's not working. Captain America simply says Rogue is only half the equation. And obviously the other half of the plan is the Sentry. The Sentry flies in and just with his power alone grabs the other foot of the Celestial and stops its descent. The Sentry's power level alone is shown to do more than every superhero on Earth's power combined. Now, the Celestial is actually killed at the end of the story, and the Sentry offers to fly this immense, planet-sized body far, far away, and it seems to be, again, no effort for him whatsoever. I truly think that this is the strongest we have ever seen the Sentry. Since that story, I can only think of one time the Sentry has really made any impact recently in Marvel, and that was during the King in Black event, where he did kill a symbiote-possessed Celestial, which was kind of impressive, but he was then immediately killed by Null, and it was kind of underwhelming to see the Sentry overpowered like that, and it was all just an effort to hype up Null as a villain. I didn't enjoy the King in Black event that much, really, but maybe it's because I'm not that big of a Venom fan, so it was hard for me to get behind him, but it was disappointing to see the Sentry underutilized like that. But the odd story about his soul in the afterlife, I've seen him talking to Doctor Strange in a recent story, but that didn't seem to go much of anywhere. And the recent deal of his powers seemingly being split between a bunch of different people, none of it seems very interesting. When it comes to the Sentry and the Void by extension, I do always get excited still because he is such a obscenely powerful character, and I still think there are some great stories that can be told around him. I'm hoping with him now in the MCU, they're definitely going to get to some of these bigger stories, and hopefully this video gives you a perspective on how powerful he really is, because if he is even 10% as powerful in the films as he is in the comics, things are gonna get messy. And that is it. That was my time reading the Sentry in Marvel Comics. I stand by what I said at the start of the video. I personally think that my time reading the Sentry has been fantastic, and I got into him at a really good moment. But let me know what you think. Leave me a comment down below with your favourite Sentry moment. Leave me a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to help me hit 1,000 subscribers this year. I would really appreciate it. But with that said, I have been Purple Hat Man. You have been a great audience. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very, very soon. Bye-bye.